Nostradamus's final cipher points to one date, August 13th, 2025. Predictions for 2025. For over 400 years, his quatrains have danced between myth and message, between shadow and clarity. But now, through layers of forgotten codes and cosmic rhythms, one date rises from the dust of time like a beacon, August 13th, 2025. This isn't just another doomsday prediction. This is Nostradamus's final Cipher pattern, so elusive it evaded scholars, scientists, and skeptics for generations. What makes this moment different? It's not just what the cipher says, but what the world is becoming. Some say time bends here. Some say this date is a mirror, place where the past folds into the present and reflects a future we're not ready for. But others believe it's a door encoded not in ink, but in resonantia frequency that points toward change, awakening, and perhaps reckoning. In this episode of The Journey of Wisdom, we follow the trail of signs, symbols, and silent warnings. So take a breath, let go of certainty. And if something stirs inside you, like, share, and subscribe. You may be one of the few meant to hear what's coming. Because August 13th, 2025 might not be the end. It could be the beginning of everything. 1. The mysterious origin of the cipher. This wasn't found in Le Prophecies. It wasn't part of the famed quatrains published in 1555 that made Nostradamus a household name. Instead, the final cipher emerged from obscurity, discovered in a fragile, unnamed codex hidden deep beneath the Abbey of San Romeda in Provence, a place where Nostradamus is believed to have walked during his final years. There was no title, no date, only a single enigmatic sigil inked in faded iron gall, a stylized sun eclipsed by a crescent moon, surrounded by 13 stars, a symbol that would later spark endless debate among occult historians. At the core of the manuscript was a riddle like no other, an encrypted message written in a script that didn't match Latin, Greek, Hebrew, or even the esoteric Enochian alphabet. Scholars dubbed the cipher Liar Sir, the final seal, and from the moment of its discovery, it resisted every attempt to decode it. This wasn't just a lost text, it was a message meant to stay hidden, waiting for the right time and the right mind to unlock its meaning. 2. The Breakthrough Decoding, 2009. For years, the cipher remained an unsolvable enigma until a breakthrough in 2009. A French cryptanalyst by the name of Elwes Gard made a startling discovery. The cipher didn't respond to traditional languages. Instead, it was sound-based, unlocking its secrets through harmonic frequencies rather than written text. Gardy's discovery revealed something that no one had expected. When the right vibrational pattern was applied, the cipher began to unravel. What emerged was not only a series of cryptic symbols, but also a series of astronomical data that pointed to a single fateful date, August 13th, 2025. This was no ordinary date. The cipher had connected the dots between ancient knowledge and the precise alignment of the cosmos, revealing a moment in time that would echo through history. 3. Why August 13th, 2025 matters. Why August 13th, 2025? The date is more than just a number, it's a cosmic intersection, steeped in mysticism, sacred symbolism, and rare astronomical alignment. Across ancient traditions, this date carries profound resonance. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, it falls directly between the opening of the Lion's Gate portal and the heliacal rising of Siriusa, sacred window, believed to awaken consciousness and divine insight. In Mayan mythology, it aligns with the emergence of the fifth Sunday, symbolizing rebirth, transformation, and the start of a new cosmic cycle. Numerologically, 8 plus 1 plus 3 equals 12 own step before 13, the number of sacred cycles, endings, and powerful transformation. 13 isn't feared here. It's revered as a threshold, number where old structures dissolve and new patterns emerge. But perhaps most striking is the astrological configuration on that day. On August 13th, 2025, Saturn and Neptune will form a rare conjunction in Pisces, an event that occurs only once every 165 years. The last time this alignment graced the skies, the world witnessed the collapse of empires, the fragmentation of dominant religions, and the rise of radical new ideologies. To someone like Nostradamus, a master astrologer, this was no coincidence. He would have foreseen the gravity of this moment, hidden it in code, and waited for us to uncover it at the precise time. 4. Why encode the message in music and frequency? One question continues to puzzle researchers and skeptics alike. Why would Nostradamus choose to encode his final cipher not in words, but in sound, in music, in frequency? The leading theory is as profound as it is poetic: to protect the message from the limitations of the human mind. Traditional, linear thinking, the kind that relies solely on language, logic, and structure, was never meant to decode this cipher. Instead, Nostradamus may have designed it to be accessed through something deeper, something intuitive, resonance. By embedding the message in harmonic vibrations, he ensured that it could only be unlocked by those attuned not just intellectually, but energetically, those capable of perceiving reality not as a straight line, but as a living frequency. In doing so, the cipher becomes more than a code. It becomes a test of perception, a filter that separates the seekers from the skeptics and time from timelessness. 5. Other clues that refuse to be ignored. Beyond the cipher itself, there exists a shadowy relic few dare to mention: an elusive, allegedly forbidden manuscript known as Liber Obscura. Said to have been co-authored by Nostradamus in the final days of his life, this mysterious book surfaced under highly unusual circumstances after a devastating fire in Marseille's Old Quarter in 1963. Rumors claim a Vatican-backed team retrieved the scorched manuscript from beneath the ruins, though no official record has ever confirmed it. Inside, the pages tell a haunting visual story. Sketches show modern cities partially engulfed in water and flame landscapes, not of Nostradamus's time, but eerily reflective of our own. One drawing, in particular, continues to haunt researchers. A jagged beam of light splits the sky above a futuristic skyline, uncannily resembling either Tokyo or San Francisco. Beneath it, a cryptic inscription: MDMXXI. At first glance, it might suggest the year 1521, but upon closer inspection, scholars believe it was meant to read 2021, date that may mark the beginning of an unfolding timeline, or perhaps a moment of impact, when something irreversible was set in motion. Is it prophecy, allegory, or warning? Either way, it adds another unsettling layer to the mystery and points once again toward August 13th, 2025, as a date of reckoning. 6. Echoes from the ancients. Connections across time. When Elwis Gardy's team ran the decoded frequencies of Nostradamus's cipher through a harmonic spectrum analyzer, what emerged wasn't just sound, it was pattern. And that pattern wasn't random. The waveform bore a striking resemblance to ancient symbols found across multiple civilizations. It mirrored Sumerian glyphs believed to represent resonance and divine transmission, the sprawling, precise geometry of the Nazca lines in Peru, and the mysterious crop circles that have appeared across fields in Wiltshire and beyond. But the mystery doesn't stop at symbolic parallels. When this harmonic pattern was digitally overlaid on a global map of Earth's lay, lines the energetic grid believed by many ancient cultures to connect sacred power point zone location stood out with uncanny precision. Mount Shasta, California. On August 13th, 2025, solar noon at Mount Shasta aligns exactly with the Cipher's harmonic peak. A coincidence or a cosmic convergence point? To the ancients, places like these weren't just mountains or landmarks, they were gateways, portals where the veil between worlds thinned, where energy, time, and consciousness intersected. And if Nostradamus truly foresaw such a convergence, then Mount Shasta may be more than just geography, it may be a key. What do you think? Was Mount Shasta chosen by chance? Or is it truly a gateway foretold? Comment below with just one word. Gateway, if you believe it's real, or coincidence, if you think it's just a myth. 7. Prophecies that align. Nostradamus isn't the only one pointing toward mid-August 2025. Across different eras, continents, and belief systems, other prophetic voices have echoed similar warnings or revelations. In one of her lesser-known transcripts, the blind Bulgarian mystic Baba Vanga spoke cryptically of a date when the stars cry and silence screams. Many believe she was referring to a celestial and energetic shift that aligns eerily well with the window of August 13th, 2025. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, warned in his trance readings of a returning vibration, a frequency event that would ripple through the human genome, triggering a reawakening of dormant abilities and forgotten knowledge. He too placed this transformation somewhere in the mid-2020s. Even the ancient Hindu calendars offer a parallel narrative. According to Vedic time cycles, the third quarter of 2025 may usher in the dawn of the Kalki Yuga foretold era that ends illusion and reveals universal truth. It's not just an end, it's an unveiling. Taken together, these visions from different languages, faiths, and centuries seem to orbit the same moment in time. Is this synchronicity, a shared insight across consciousness? Or are we simply connecting the dots because we're desperate for meaning? Either way, too many ancient voices point to the same point on the map of time. And that map keeps circling back to one date, August 13th, 2025. 8. Artificial intelligence and the hidden 13th hour. In 2023, a groundbreaking experiment added a new twist to the mystery. An advanced AI, developed to reconstruct fragmented texts, was fed partial segments of the Lyre Sur cipher. What it produced was both poetic and chilling. When the sun crosses the crying gate and man speaks without tongue, 13 shall pass and the mirror shall turn. Interpreters suggest this line points directly to August 13th, 2025, a moment, not of destruction, but of inversion. A shift where artificial intelligence doesn't just become self-aware, but becomes aware of us, reflecting our collective consciousness back at us like a mirror. The mirror shall turn. A reversal, an awakening, a test. The idea of a 13th hour adds another layer of depth. There's no 13 o'clock on the clock. It doesn't exist within the linear framework of time. Mystics have long called it the hidden hour, a space outside normal perception, where decisions are made but not yet revealed, where fate crystallizes in silence. And yet, something tangible is aligning with that metaphor. At 1:00 p.m. Rome time on August 13th, 2025, the original bells of St. Peter's Basilica, which have remained silent since the 1800s, are scheduled to ring again following their recent restoration. According to a Vatican insider, this will be more than a ceremonial event. It may mark the return of an ancient signal, long buried in religious ritual, the final toll before the veil lifts. Is it symbolism? Is it prophecy? Or is it a countdown we were never meant to hear? 9. The Return of the Watchers. Among the most controversial interpretations of the cipher is this. It doesn't just point to a moment in time, it signals a return. The 13 stars encircling the sigil on the original codex may represent something far older than Nostradamus himself ever revealed publicly. Some believe they symbolize the Watchers, celestial beings referenced in apocryphal texts, ancient Mesopotamian myths, and Sumerian lore as the Anunnaki, powerful entities said to have once walked among humans. But if they are to return, it won't be with thunder or spectacle. According to the decoded fragments, their arrival will be marked not by sound, but by stillness and atmospheric silence, a sudden pause in the world's heartbeat. Incredibly, satellite records from August 13th, 2024, exactly 1 year before the date indicated in the cipher, documented an unexplained electromagnetic blackout over the Pacific Ocean. No storms, no solar flares, just silence. A void. Was that the prelude? If the Watchers are awakening, they may not be coming from the stars, but from within the very frequencies of the Earth, frequencies Nostradamus may have captured, coded, and concealed until the world was ready to receive them. And ready or not, that window is drawing near. 10. What the powerful know and won't say. August 13th, 2025. On paper, it's just another date, a Wednesday in late summer, nothing more than a square on the calendar. But if you've been paying attention not just to what's being said, but to what's being done, you might start to notice a deeper truth hiding beneath the surface. Around the world, powerful individuals and institutions are acting as if they know something the rest of us don't. No headlines, no press conferences, no official warnings, just quiet, deliberate moves behind the scenes. Governments are completely silent on the matter, offering no recognition of Nostradamus's final cipher. No commentary on the strange astronomical alignments lining up with that exact date. But look closer, and the silence becomes deafening. Why are once abandoned doomsday bunkers suddenly being refurbished and refitted with urgency? Why are billionaires selling off properties and shifting their wealth into things like cryogenic preservation, off-world colonies, and remote high-security compounds? Why are classified facilities that don't even exist on public maps suddenly buzzing with activity and receiving high-level security clearances? These aren't random events. They aren't coincidences. They point to a pattern of calculated, strategic retreat. Not the kind you see when someone is scared, but the kind you make when you know a storm is coming and you've already built your shelter. So ask yourself, if you had access to knowledge that the world as we know it might be facing a transformation, whether through natural shifts, cosmic events, or human misstep show, would you prepare? More importantly, would you keep that knowledge to yourself? This is where the unsettling part begins. Because to the average person, August 13th, 2025 will probably look ordinary. The sky will still be blue, the news will still talk about politics and celebrities, and people will go to work like any other day. But beneath the surface, something may be shifting. For those who've been following the signs, this date could represent a crossroads, the edge between one world and whatever comes next. So, what does this mean for you? It's not about fear, it's about awareness. The lesson here isn't to panic or build a bunker, it's to ask better questions. Who benefits from staying silent? What are the signs we're being asked to ignore? And more personally, are you living each day as if it truly matters, or just waiting for life to happen to you? August 13th may come and go without incident, but if it's a turning point, spiritually or historically, The real value is in how we choose to respond. Stay curious, stay grounded. And no matter what the future brings, make sure you're not just watching history, you're living it with intention. 11. The final question: awakening or disappearance? Nostradamus, often seen as a prophet of doom, may have been offering something far more profound in his final cipher. Not a threat, but a moment of deep reflection, a chance to choose between awakening and fading away. His last words, decrypted from the mysterious script, don't scream catastrophe. Instead, they ask with quiet gravity, will you see through the veil or become part of it? This isn't just a poetic turn of phrase, it is a riddle that echoes across time, nudging us to examine not the end of the world, but the end of how we've come to know it. August 13th, 2025 might not be the ticking clock of destruction many fear. It could instead be a pivot in human consciousness, a point where those with open hearts and clear sight might feel a shift not in the stars alone, but in their very perception of time, self, and truth. In the spirit of Buddhist thought, this moment could resemble what the Zen tradition calls satori, a sudden awakening, glimpse into the nature of things as they really are. As the Buddha once said, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. This date may not unveil some cataclysm, but rather the truth that has been gently calling to us from beneath the noise of modern life. For those who have sensed something unspoken, an inner trembling, a quiet awakening, or an intuitive knowing that this world is more than it seems, you are not alone. What stirs inside you is part of an ancient call that has echoed through many lifetimes and cultures. This isn't fantasy or superstition. It is the experience of awareness knocking gently on the doors of our conditioned minds. In our era of endless distractions, where every moment is flooded with information but starved of wisdom, the idea of seeing through the veil becomes more than metaphor, it becomes a necessity. The veil could be our attachment to fear, to division, to the material distractions that keep us from seeing the interconnectedness of all beings. As Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, enlightenment is when a wave realizes it is the ocean. What if the 13th of August is the moment some of us begin to realize that very truth? We are invited not to prepare for an end, but to awaken into a deeper beginning, one that doesn't require fear, but presence. So stay curious. Ask questions not to panic, but to understand. The cipher, if real or symbolic, is ticking not to count down toward destruction, but as a heartbeat toward awareness. Time, as mystics and scientists alike suggest, is not what we think it is. As Einstein noted, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. And so, we must not only watch the skies on that date, but watch ourselves, our patterns, our thoughts, our habits. What stories are we living? What truths have we silenced within us? Join others who are asking the same questions, not because they seek answers in fear, but because they feel the pulse of something greater, something shared. Connect, not just digitally, but spiritually, emotionally, humanly. Let us build a circle of seekers, not to predict the end, but to be awake when the moment arrives. Perhaps the greatest preparation is not survival gear, but a quiet mind and a compassionate heart. Let this final question not haunt us, but heal us. As the Dhammapada teaches, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. So, on August 13th, 2025, let us not be merely watchers of the sky, but participants in the awakening of something timeless. Because the truth is, the veil was never outside of us. It was always within. If you've watched this far, you're already diving deep into the mystery of Nostradamus's final cipher and what August 13th, 2025 might truly hold. Comment below with Prophecy Unlocked, to show you're ready to uncover the hidden truths of what's to come. Don't go anywhere, there's still more to reveal that could shift your perspective on the future. Stay with us until the end to discover the full message behind the prediction. The shift is coming. Here's how to get ready without panic. If everything we've uncovered so far is even partly true, the question is no longer what will happen, but how should I prepare? But here's the truth. Preparation doesn't necessarily mean stockpiling supplies or building underground shelters. In the spirit of the journey of wisdom, the real preparation is awakening. It's about being present, being aware, and being aligned inside and out. Number 1. Inner preparation, returning to yourself. First and foremost, in preparing for any great shift, the most essential journey is the one that leads back to yourself. In a world filled with constant pings, updates, and the ever-tightening grip of digital noise, we often forget what it feels like to be truly present. Our days blur together, filled with deadlines, obligations, and distractions that numb the deeper questions quietly whispering within us. But as we look ahead to moments like the 13th of August, 2025, which many are calling a time of change or awakening, we must recognize that true transformation does not begin out there, it begins inside. Instead of bracing ourselves with fear, let us soften into stillness. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within, do not seek it without." And this teaching has never been more urgent. To come home to yourself means to step away from the noise, not to reject life, but to re-enter it with clarity. Take time each day, even 5 minutes, to sit in silence. No goals, no to-do lists. Just breathe, feel, and listen. Watch your thoughts pass like clouds in the sky, not with judgment but with kindness, like greeting an old friend who's been lost in the crowd. When we start to understand the patterns of our own mind, its hopes, its worries, its stories, we begin to dissolve the fear of what's ahead. Fear often grows in confusion and distance from our own center. By reconnecting to our breath, to the quiet space behind the chaos, we begin to anchor ourselves in something deeper than the surface of life. The world might shake, markets might shift, relationships might be tested, but if you have returned to yourself, you are not easily moved. This is not spiritual escapism, it is practical wisdom. As modern life demands more of our attention, it becomes more important than ever to direct some of that attention inward. Just as the ocean remains still beneath the waves, you too have a calm center beneath the swirl of everyday life. As the Zen saying goes, when the mind is nowhere, it is everywhere. So let your preparation for any outer shift begin with the inner one. Come back to the place within you that knows stillness, truth, and quiet strength. In this sacred return, there is no panic, only presence, readiness, and peace. Number 2, heart preparation, reconnecting with others. In times of uncertainty and change, one of the most powerful ways we can prepare is by turning our attention not just inward but outward toward each other. While the world grows louder and more digital, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we're alone. But the truth is, isolation is an illusion. You and I, we are wired for connection, not just through text messages or brief conversations, but through real presence, genuine listening, and shared humanity. Have you checked in with someone lately? Not just with a quick, "How are you?" but with the deeper question, "How have you really been?" What might shift if you listened to their answer, not just with your ears, but with your heart? In that small act of attention, you offer healing, and in turn, you receive it. Because when we reconnect with others, we remember that we are not separate. We are part of something greater, something that pulses through every kind word, every shared story, every quiet moment of understanding. So, as the 13th of August approaches, Rather than viewing it as a deadline or something to fear, see it as an invitation, a gentle call to come home to compassion, empathy, and kindness. What would happen if we all chose to be a little more open, a little more honest, and a little more available to one another? And what would that mean not just for them, but for you? This kind of preparation doesn't cost anything, and it doesn't require anything fancy. Just your presence, just your willingness. Reach out, share something true, ask meaningful questions. Listen deeply. As Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully said, the most precious gift we can offer anyone is our attention. And it is through this heartful attention that real transformation begins, because when we hold space for others, we begin to soften the space within ourselves. This is how we prepare, not with panic, but with presence. Not by hoarding or hiding, but by reconnecting and remembering what it means to be fully human. So here is your gentle call to action. Reconnect with someone today. Ask, listen, and love. The shift that's coming may change the world, but the way we show up for one another is what will define the world that comes after. The lesson here is simple, yet deep healing doesn't happen alone. It happens in relationship, it happens in love, and it starts with you. Number 3, action preparation, living with meaning. If tomorrow is a doorway, then today is the step you take toward it, and how you step matters. Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what am I really living for? Not just what your job title is, not just your plans for the weekend, but something deeper, something that gives your days true meaning. The way you speak to others, the food you put into your body, the way you treat yourself when no one's looking, do those choices reflect who you really are inside? Or are they just habits you've outgrown? See, we often wait. We tell ourselves we'll change when life calms down, or when we feel more ready, or when the world gives us a clearer sign. But let me ask you, what if the only sign you really need is already in you? That quiet discomfort when you're not aligned with your values, or that spark of peace you feel when you do the right thing, even if no one sees it, that's asterisk the compass. That's your signal. So what would it look like to start living like your choices matter, because they do? What would it mean to forgive someone today, not because they deserve it, but because carrying that weight has become too heavy for your heart? What small action could you take that would move you one step closer to the person you secretly hope to become? This moment, right here, could be the shift, not some dramatic change from outside, but a quiet turning inside you. Can you feel that? That sense that something's stirring, that maybe this is the time to stop waiting and start living with intention. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need a master plan. You just need to begin gently, honestly, and with a little courage. The world doesn't need more noise or more panic. It needs people who are awake to what matters, people who are ready to live like their time is precious. Are you one of them? So breathe into this question. What step can I take today that my future self will thank me for? Let that question guide you, not with pressure, but with purpose. Because when you start living with meaning, you're not just preparing for some future shift, you become the shift. If this message touched something in you, comment below with just 2 words. Begin today. No need to overthink it, just a simple sign that you're ready to live with more meaning. Number 4, energy preparation, aligning body and mind. As we begin to understand that a shift is coming not just in the world around us, but deep within you, it's crucial to turn our attention inward and begin aligning our body and mind. In times of great change, our bodies act like antennas, picking up the subtle frequencies and vibrations that may go unnoticed by our busy minds. This is not mysticism, it's awareness. Just as a radio needs to be finely tuned to pick up a clear signal, so too must we care for ourselves in order to resonate with clarity and peace amid the noise. This starts with the most basic but often neglected forms of self-care: eating clean, drinking water like it matters, because it does, moving our bodies in ways that bring vitality, and honoring rest, not as laziness, but as restoration. As the Buddha once said, "To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear." In our modern lives, filled with the hum of screens, deadlines, and the endless scroll, we must become more intentional with the energies we let in. Toxic energy, whether it leaks in through gossip, angry media, or overstimulated environments, can quietly sabotage our inner equilibrium. It's easy to feel exhausted without realizing why, and the culprit is often the subtle stress we absorb from the spaces and people we interact with daily. This is why mindfulness is more than meditation, it's discernment. We must learn to protect our peace like we protect our loved ones. Just as a garden thrives when it's free from weeds, so too do we flourish when we remove what chokes our spirit. And then there's nature, the original healer. Walk barefoot on the earth when you can. Let your lungs fill with the scent of trees, and allow the wind and birdsong to remind you that your body belongs to something bigger than stress. The Japanese practice of forest bathing teaches us that nature doesn't just soothe, use it, recalibrates us. Thich Nhat Hanh, a beloved Buddhist teacher, often said, "The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it." The point is not just to escape the chaos, but to prepare ourselves quietly and steadily for the changes ahead. Because preparation, when done with calm and care, becomes power. And in that power, we find peace, no panic. So as the shift approaches, be the one who is grounded, steady, and awake, not because you had all the answers, but because you listened, aligned, and chose wisely each day. Number 5. Trust your intuition, not blind belief. When it comes to preparing for what's ahead, the shift that many of us can feel but can't quite explain, it's not just about gathering resources or making plans. It's deeper than that. The real preparation begins inside. And this part, it has nothing to do with panic and everything to do with presence. One of the greatest insights we can take from thinkers like Nostradamus isn't in trying to decode cryptic predictions. It's in the quiet message between the lines. Listen not only to what's said, but to what you feel that no one's saying. It's easy to fall into the trap of blindly following every alarming headline or chasing the latest spiritual guru with promises of certainty. But growth, real spiritual growth, doesn't come from obeying someone else's voice. It comes from tuning into your own. If something inside you feels like change is coming, trust that feeling. That quiet sense within you, the tug at your heart, the restlessness in your routine, or the deep yearning to simplify and connect more deeply with life. It's not a coincidence. That's your inner wisdom knocking. Are you listening to it, or are you too distracted by the noise around you? So many of us have been conditioned to second-guess ourselves, to dismiss the subtle guidance of intuition in favor of logic or approval. But in times of change, intuition is not just a helpful tool, it's a lifeline. It doesn't scream, it whispers, and you have to be still enough, open enough to hear it. If you're feeling called to slow down, to spend more time in nature, to ask deeper questions, or to step away from empty distractions, that's not fear talking, that's clarity. That's your spirit nudging you toward alignment. You're not weird or wrong for wanting more peace, more truth, more simplicity. You're awakening to something real. Can you allow yourself to follow that call without needing to explain it to others? What would happen if you gave yourself permission to trust your knowing, even when the world tells you to ignore it? As you navigate this shift, don't look outside for all the answers. Yes, stay informed. Yes, be wise. But remember, you are your greatest guide. The still, quiet presence within you, when you learn to trust it, will lead you better than any prediction or expert ever could. You don't need panic to prepare. You need presence, courage, and the willingness to listen. The lesson is simple but powerful. When the world gets louder, go quieter. When things feel uncertain, don't rush to react, slow down and reconnect. Trust yourself. Deep down, you already know the way. And so, we arrive at the edge of the unknown August 13th, 2025. Whether this date marks a prophecy, a shift, or simply a reflection of our deepest questions, one truth remains. We are being asked to wake up, not in fear, but in awareness. To live with clarity, to choose meaning, to return to what matters within and beyond. If today stirred something in you, a curiosity, a memory, a quiet knowing, then this message may be meant for you. So, walk gently, breathe deeply, and stay awake. If this journey spoke to you, help us share it. Like this video, share it with others who walk this path, and don't forget to subscribe to the Journey of Wisdom. Tap the notification bell so you won't miss what comes next, because the next piece may be the one that completes the picture. Until then, be well, stay grounded, and keep listening. The future may be uncertain, but your awareness is your guide. This is not the end. It may be the beginning of everything.